When you're lying awake in bed, unable to sleep and stumble upon this video, consider yourself lucky tonight. For restless insomniacs, this is the perfect remedy. Watch until the end, and I promise you'll drift into a peaceful dream. No more small talk. Let's dive right into tonight's bedtime story. At 35 years old, Aman wanted to experience life in its rawest form. With nothing but a heavy pack strapped to his back, he journeyed deep into the rainforest, climbing steep cliffs, searching for the perfect spot to build a treetop shelter. He stopped in front of a towering tree. After surveying the area, he set down his pack, tied a branch to the trunk for support, and began clearing the wild grass around him. After a while, half the ground was cleared. Then, he turned his focus to the tree itself. Clutching a long saw, Aman climbed to a fork in the trunk, balanced on a branch, and began sawing through one of the limbs. The rainforest was thick with leaves and shade, a place where the harsh sun couldn't reach. He carried the cut branches on his shoulder, threw them to the ground, then kept sawing. Once the leaves were stripped off, he piled the branches together, sawed them down to proper lengths, some thick, some thin, and laid them on the ground in the shape of a large rectangle. At each corner, he hammered long nails to hold it steady. The wood was heavy, but his nails were long enough to bite deep. His hands worked fast and precise, and soon the frame was done. On one side, Aman added 2 short logs as supports, making it look like a massive wooden bed. To strengthen it, he nailed diagonal braces at every corner. Then, he laid smaller logs inside the frame, lined them up neatly with no gaps, and hammered a nail into the center of each, locking them securely in place. The sun broke through the canopy, the heat rising quickly, and Aman's pace grew faster. He wanted this shelter finished before nightfall. After trimming the wood to size, he cut several branches into shorter pieces, set up a wooden ladder against the trunk, and began fixing the logs one by one higher up the tree. Building in midair was no easy task. He shifted positions, twisting and straining, but never once did he stop. Aman then grabbed 2 long poles, one end braced on the ground, the other against the logs on the trunk. With a few heavy strikes of the hammer, he secured them together. It was a ladder. Climbing up and down would now be easier. He nailed shorter logs across the frame, his movements fierce, as if the wood itself had wronged him. Once the ladder was done, he climbed to the top without hesitation, ready to continue building his sky-high cabin. Before long, the base of the cabin was secured. Aman never stopped for a moment. He came down, sawed another stack of logs, and carried them back up one by one, laying them tightly side by side. Each log was hammered into the frame below, locked firm with nails. If the pile ran out, he would chop down more trees, haul them up, and nail them in place. It was full immersion, the kind of work you get lost in. Turns out, building a cabin can become addictive. After working tirelessly for a long stretch, the cabin floor was finally done. Next, Aman took 2 long logs, angled their ends, and raised them upright. Joined together at the top, they formed a tall triangle to brace one side. He built another identical frame on the opposite end. Finally, he nailed log after log across the 2 triangles, shaping the roofline of a small wooden house. Once the beams were laid and secured, Aman climbed down and dragged out a long log. He sawed it into thick wooden slices, working with such speed and force it looked like smoke would rise from the cut. Soon, a pile of round wooden discs stacked at his feet. He carried them all up to the roof, set each piece in place, and tapped a nail lightly into the center. Then, one by one, he hammered them across the rafters in neat rows. At a glance, the discs looked just like roof shingles, lined perfectly, row after row. Under the sunlight, they glowed with a golden shimmer, like the cabin roof had been inlaid with tiny pieces of magic. After a stretch of hard work, Aman finally finished securing the roof tiles. Then, he laid a heavy beam across the top, driving nails into both ends to hold it tight. By now, the sun hung high overhead. He cut a few more logs nearby, hauled them back, measured one against the roof's edge, and sawed off the excess with steady strokes. Using that as a guide, he trimmed a whole stack of beams to size. Climbing the ladder again, he placed them one by one, sealing the triangular gap at the roof side. When the long beams were in place, he capped the top with shorter ones. Then, Aman picked up a curved branch, its bark stripped clean. He lifted it, measured it twice, then sat down, staring thoughtfully at its shape. A moment later, he gathered more branches of the same curve. It was clear. He was planning to craft an oval-shaped doorway. But in such a small cabin, could it really hold everything he needed for daily life? Let's keep watching to see how Aman chooses to finish and decorate his wooden home. Aman filled both sides of the doorway with branches, then moved to the top. Because of the arched frame, it was harder to fit the branches in place, but with patience, he finished the job. Afterward, he carried two long, curved branches from the forest, peeled off their bark with a sharp knife, and fixed them to the ladder. He was adding sturdy handrails, making the climb safer and easier. Aman held onto the new handrails, lifting himself as if riding a bicycle, grinning at his own clever idea. From a distance, the wooden hut looked nearly complete. The arched doorway, the ladder, and the shingle-like roof gave it real charm. Beneath the ladder, he fixed 4 short logs onto wooden planks, then laid 4 more across them, joining everything with nails. One branch had a spiral twist, so unusual it caught the eye. He trimmed off the excess, and when the view widened, a small courtyard appeared. What a brilliant idea. With the hut above for rest, the courtyard below could be a place to breathe fresh air, a natural oxygen bar. Aman cleaned the bark from forked branches and set them around the yard as posts. Their natural grain made them look as if they'd grown there. Next, he cut logs into a rectangle, nailed them together, and built a long table. He set it by the railing, added 2 short stumps to hold the top, and dragged over a log as a stool. Now he had table and chair. He gathered stones, arranged them in a circle, filled the middle with soil, then shaved wood chips onto it. A strike of a match, flames soon rose. Aman fed in firewood, and when the fire grew strong, he could finally cook. After all that work, a well-earned meal was waiting. Aman laid out a plate of fresh food, meat and vegetables, a healthy balance. He set a kettle and cup on the table, then sliced deep cuts into a big slab of meat so the flavor would soak in when fried. First, he seared the fatty pieces, letting the oil drip into the pan. Garlic cloves followed, sizzling in the heat. The aroma rose thick in the air. Then came the meat, sprinkled with spices, seared on one side and flipped. Soon it was golden, crackling with flavor. While the meat cooked, Aman chopped vegetables into small pieces. When the pan was nearly done, he slid the meat aside, made space for the veggies, and cooked both together. Smoke and fragrance drifted through the quiet rainforest, a meal fit for envy in such solitude. As night fell, he hung lamps on each side of the ladder, then set another glowing inside the hut. Tiny orbs of light glimmered in the forest like fireflies whispering in the dark. Dinner was ready. He lifted the sizzling meat, cut it into small chunks, and tossed the vegetables beside it, topping everything with scallions. By the fire, he boiled lake water in a kettle, then pulled out 2 big white buns. Stuffing one with meat, he took a bite. The taste needed no words. He ate heartily, meat with buns and vegetables, a feast after a long day. Soon the plate was empty. Satisfied, Amun unrolled his sleeping bag, spread a blanket, and drifted into sleep. The forest grew quiet. And as Amun slipped into dreams, may you too find a restful night, peaceful and sweet.